Hey everybody, my name's Daniel Driscoll.
I'm Tim Creque.
We're with Cincinnati Quad Racers and the Whoop Bros. We're coming to you today. We're trying to share some of the knowledge that we've gained over the last year or so, trying to put together a command center station that we use for hosting races. And this has been a collaboration project and a work in progress. It's still being improved on. Every time we get to race, it seems like. But we figure it's about time to share some of what we've learned along the way, and maybe you guys can help to improve on this. Maybe you can learn something from it and use it for your clubs as well.
Alright, so yeah, what we've got here is our all-in-one broadcasting, timing, race control system. It's got everything we need to broadcast to YouTube, live time, and give our pilots any of the information they could possibly need online. It's a massive case that Daniel's built that contains stuff that we've compiled throughout the years. Everything, this all started probably 2 years ago when we moved into a warehouse for winter racing season, and it was the venue was set up in such a way that the pilots were in a different room than the race course, and we needed a way to kind of bring the race to them so that they weren't just kind of in their own world, not knowing what's going on. And this allowed us to capture a feed and send it to another room where we had some TVs set up. And then ultimately it was just a step further to send everything to YouTube where it could be broadcast to the world. And Daniel's taken what was probably 2 or 3 cases worth of stuff that we would have to compile at a race and incorporate it into this box that pretty much holds everything except some cabling. It's all based off of just this desktop computer. It's got a cubby for our timing system, keyboard, mouse, cables. Kind of the heart of it is the video system being captured by our DVR here and our ground stations down here below. We have the ability to capture up to 8 video feeds, though we generally only run 4 or 6. That outputs an HDMI signal to our USB capture device, which ultimately sends it to the computer, and we can use that for importing it into OBS to broadcast. We've also got the ability to output the video feed to multiple HDMI sources using a network switch and several of these Cat5 HDMI extenders. So as long as we have Cat5 cable, we can send the video feed up to I think like 200 feet, and we can do up to I think 4 of them. So as long as we have enough of these receivers, and they look like this, we can connect to any bar, restaurant, brewery if we're hosting a whoop race, and use their TVs or projectors. We've also got a mixer here, so we can do our audio output and input back into the computer. And I think that's basically it. Everything from here on out is going to be software related. We could probably put the cover back on here. Grab the mixer there.
Yeah, I'll hold this guy for you.
Okay. So this goes on and gives us a nice little work surface.
The nice thing about this too is when we built this, it was known that okay, we're going to be out in the field sometimes and it's going to be really hot and the sun's beating down on everything and this stuff's generating heat and it's black and it's going to absorb energy, so we wanted to make sure everything stayed cool. So by putting this cover on, we now have forced convection. There's already cooling built into the computer obviously, but then on the back side, when he was showing you the tour, he probably picked up that there was a fan back there, and it's actually adjustable speed too, so if ever we get to the point where it's too hot, we can always churn up the juice on the fan. Right now we kind of have it at low because when we're in buildings and stuff, it tends to be...
It is a little loud even on the low setting.
Yeah.
But we haven't found a need to increase that yet. Nothing's overheated, but I don't think we've really raced in hot weather yet. Maybe this next one, the weekend after this next one will probably be the real test. The only downside is that this screen here has polarization that is opposite of what sunglasses are. And I found out the hard way. Like, I'm like, the screen's not even on? What's going on? Why is there no video signal? And then I bent down and cocked my head sideways to pick something up and noticed, oh, it is on. So yeah, that's the only downside. This screen's perfect. That one, yeah, either has to be a cloudy day and you don't need sunglasses, or I just use it in such a way that maybe I'll put everything on one screen for the most part, except for like the key buttons and OBS here. So this is pretty much the software setup that we normally run. We generally run stuff through Restream, so we can broadcast to multiple sources, like whether it's Lifetime's website, YouTube, Facebook, or any combination of those. It allows us to stream to multiple sources at once, and it has its own chat software to kind of bring all of the all of the chats together, so that you can kind of interact with your viewers as without having to go to several different sites and see what people are saying. But we'll generally dedicate one screen to Lifetime and the other one to OBS, so we can do our broadcasting. And we may be using the studio mode here, which kind of allows us to like queue up like a scene before we swap over to it for the live stream. But sometimes, if you just want it simple and you want it big, you may just want to see the 6 pilot feeds, so you can actually watch the race while you're doing the play-by-play. There's a couple cool things we've discovered with this. You can layer the crap out of this. I have it set up so that we can do races for Cincinnati quad racers, and you can see we've got everything in green. But we could also do it for Hawks, and all I gotta do is hide a couple logos, and then generally the Lifetime overlay is going to be a red color to kind of match their color scheme. But OBS does something cool where you can kind of color shift items, and you do that with a filter. And I've actually set up 2 so that I can actually make it orange if I want. And it's all by switching, I want to say it's the hue shift, I think is what we're using. And if you don't do that, you can see it looks red, but we can make it orange or we can make it green. So this is kind of the Hawks setup if we wanted to use that. We have several different scenes that we could use on any given day. We've got a chat scene which would incorporate the chat software from Restream, and I think that will pop up over here, but it's not currently active. We've got a webcam set up. Generally I point that at the field, and then it just kind of makes a nice scene with logos and stuff on here, and I may have the leaderboard popped up over here. We've got a ticker, so like if we're prepping for a race, I'll put something down here saying racing's going to start at whatever time. And this also gives us the ability, we could use the webcam feed instead. We've also got this moving background that I think I got from a website called, I want to say it was MoveGraph, and Jamie Farrell's the one that kind of shared that with me. It's got this nice little animated carbon fiber look to it. And you can also buy these things called stingers, which are kind of like dedicated transitions. Let's see, why is that hiding? Let's see, I'm going to change it here, and if I change the scene to something else, you can see you get a nice little animated transition there. Another thing we've done is we've actually built like brackets using Google Sheets, and that just gets imported as a browser source. And with by setting the background, I think I set it to magenta, you can do like a chroma key selection so that it all becomes transparent in the background. And this is just kind of set up for an A and a B main, because we generally only have like 10 or 12 people show up to a race, it seems like, this summer. And then the main guts of it is the 3x2 video feed for all of the pilot feeds. There's also an option for 2x2, though I don't think I have it on here. And like if for whatever reason pilots were to crash out, maybe you've only got one left, we also have the ability to switch to individual pilot feeds. Hell, we should probably turn on the whoops at this point. We have 4 quads powered on, and you can see that we've got 4 currently up here. We have the the ability to show 6. And if for whatever reason, like everybody was to crash out but one, You know, it'd be kind of boring looking at a bunch of grass on these feeds, or dust if a you know, a tiny whoop ends up in some crevice somewhere. So we have the ability to kind of switch to individual pilot feeds, and I just kind of have it set up so it's scaled and kind of goes over the top of most of the other stuff, and just keeps the, you know, the kind of the, I don't know, the leaderboard up at the top here. Let's switch back to cut. So we got pilot 1 here. We could do 2, 3, 4, you know, etc., all the way down to 6. So you know, the sky's the limit as far as, you know, playing with different scenes and what you want to do. You know, really the only thing you need for a race is this guy right here. That'll do everything. But being able to mix it up, because you do have a lot of wasted time between heats, being able to go to something like this where maybe pointing at the field or at some people commentating and they can talk about different things, just makes it, you know, a little better experience for everybody. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. I don't know how much this thing weighs now. It seems like every time we take it out, we add another cable to it, which doesn't seem like a big deal until you've added 10 of those cables to it.
But we should show off. I think one of the things that we really tried to do with this was to make it so that you didn't have things you had to plug in.
Yeah, that's
randomly.
true. Yeah, everything pretty much just plugs into the back over here. We'll probably show that here in just a second. We've got access to everything via these hatches.
LED lighting.
We've also got LED lighting. So let's see. I probably should have had it set to do the fade, so we can, you know, we've got mood lighting going on. It's great in a dark environment. Just adds another little something. Okay, so let's put the keyboard away. Just close it up. Bring it back just a bit. Put that away. Let's close it.
The nice thing about this is, like, you can see what he's doing is just breaking it down. Everything has a place. You don't have to have a bunch of different boxes. We've sort of jerry-rigged the GoPro on the top there because we were trying to get a top-down view. I'm not sure how well that ends up conveying here for this particular video, but everything latches down. It becomes a bit of like a travel case with latches, kind of your suitcase-style latches.
Yeah, we've got wheels on the bottom because this thing, I don't know how much it weighs now. It's uncomfortable for one person to deal. It's almost a little too wide to carry. With the weight, it's uncomfortable. But we've got wheels on it, so you can there's a handle on each end. You just grab the handle on the other end and you can drag it along. So it's plenty portable. We've stickered it out. And everything plugs in the back here.
Those rubber grips actually work really well.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've got them screwed in too, right? They're not like stuck on.
They're never coming out. So the kind of the first thing we did is we said we needed to make sure we get power in. So here it's a plug-in point. We have a different style receptor here that allows us to be able to not mix up the cords. But once you get the power in, then I have it split out so we have a couple auxiliary powers.
Yeah, power strip inside, that takes care of pretty much everything. The only thing that really needs it at this point, maybe one more for the mixer. I can't think of anything else that we might need to power inside of that other than that.
Yeah, this is really used more for, like, I guess the PA system.
The ground stations would be powered by that, the PA system, maybe an external TV if you had, something for spectators to watch. Yeah, we have the ability to output video for pilots from our ground station, so if that provided better video, especially in an indoor environment with multipathing, that's really the way to go. Not everybody has a great module. Sometimes seating at a venue is not conducive to having good video. We have to work with whatever we get. So having that as an option is great. We have cables that we carry around. We have two extra totes that pretty much will cover anything we would need. We've got network cables in there, we've got extension cords, and we've got the 3.5 millimeter cables for the goggles if need be. So between this one box and those two totes, I don't think we need anything else, well, other than the ground station, other than the most obvious thing that's needed.
We're still working on that.
Yeah, this is kind of a work in progress. This is kind of the, I don't know, what, the second iteration of what this is. Daniel's made it a little shorter and put feet on it, whereas before it was just
board.
a single 2x4 that had a much larger stand originally at the warehouse, and we would just zip tie it wherever we could, and now it actually can just stand on its own if need, if we've got someplace to prop it. But you see, we've got a bunch of RJ45 jacks, standard network jacks on the back. The 2 cables that are plugged in right now are for our ground stations. Anybody who's putting together anything like this, don't mess with BNC connectors or or individual cables and trying to figure out a way to wire this up. Each one of those cables has 4 twisted pairs in it, so that's 4 video channels. You could probably even do like a shared ground maybe and do as many as 7 video signals. We haven't tested it, but 4 is more than enough. You run 2 cables, you're good. So if you need to have your ground station, I think at the warehouse we probably had like maybe a 60-foot run from where the ground stations were at to where race control was. It was just 2 cables we had to run, and everything just plugged into the back of a box, just like that. And it's all made possible by...
I'm gonna get a close-up of this ground station.
Okay. It's all made possible by some adapters that you just get off of Amazon. So this little brick right here is a network breakout board, and it's got all of the ground stations. We've got 4 wired into one, and then we've got the ability. We've got channels 5 and 6 wired into the second receptacle, and we're breaking those out. The ground stations all have the standard 3.5 millimeter connector, and it's a tip ring sleeve connection. So if you do a search for TRRS, that'll get you what you need, because it's not stereo. It does. I guess it would do stereo audio plus a video signal.
Yeah, I learned that one the hard way when I tried to order some extra parts.
Yeah, you don't want a stereo connector, and it's got basically just these screw terminals for all of the connections. So one's ground, and one of them is video, because we don't care about the audio source. And we've got these same things in the box up here for receiving the video and outputting that into the DVR setup. And the DVR's got these same kind of things, but they're BNC connectors, and they have screw terminals on them as well. And that just makes everything easier. And the wiring's just a stripped out network cable.
Yeah.
And these things right here, these 3.5 millimeter connectors, are exactly the same thing. They're just the female version of those. And we've got the two cables coming in for the ground stations, and then we've got a dedicated connector for our lap RF unit. So for timing, our timing system plugs in right here. This breaks out to just a network cable on the other side and plugs into the computer. If we need, standard network line internet, we've got that option going into the computer as well. Generally, stuff's Wi-Fi. If you're doing stuff in an indoor environment, make sure you turn off 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi if possible. Otherwise, that impacts a couple of the channels that we would use in kind of an adverse way. And these 4 sections here are our video out. That's where the HDMI extenders come into play. And we can connect up to 5 different TVs and output the same feed we're putting on YouTube that way. Another option is if the place you're at has smart TVs, just bring up the YouTube feed and play it that way. There's like maybe a 30-second delay. And then we've also got some USB ports, so if we wanted to hook up webcams, we have 2 options here. And then we've got our audio connections. Both of these connect up to our mixer and allow us to output our audio to a PA system, or I should say output to the mixer and then to a PA system, and then also back in to the computer in case we want to use some kind of external audio, like a microphone. And that pretty much is it. Other than that, here's the cooling solution for the computer that Daniel talked about briefly. That seems to keep everything cool.
This is a dual fan. I think it's like pretty high wattage fan capability. Yeah, I think it was pulled from a server, or maybe like a...
So it was all built into this little metal bracket?
Yeah, it was all built in, so we kind of borrowed the part from a torn down machine. I think maybe it was actually a 3D printing machine from Kevin. But anyways, this thing rips. It can push some serious airflow, so we have capability beyond what we need.
Yeah, it's got a nice little hum right now, and that's the lowest setting. We haven't seen a need to go any higher. One of the things we noticed early on that I hadn't mentioned at this point was the computer we have, which is it's an i5 4000 series Intel processor, and the integrated graphics in it wasn't quite powerful enough to do the live streaming, to do the encoding that we needed. Actually, it wasn't the graphics. Generally we're using the CPU to do that because that's the best way to do it. But recently, NVIDIA got together and started working with the OBS project and kind of tweaked their drivers to work better and helped to provide, software to OBS to integrate that better. So we ended up going out. I bought an old Quadro, which is like a workstation graphics card. It's not meant for gaming. A gaming card might have been cheaper, but looking around on eBay, this was the cheapest option for us. So we got a Pascal series, which is the last generation architecture, which is capable of, I think, outputting encoding 2 4K streams at a time. Granted, we're not doing that, but it does it in a more efficient way than we were able to do with just the CPU, and we have no stuttering on our video. Whereas before, when we were relying on just the CPU and integrated graphics, you could see just doing a transition or having that animated carbon background was too much for it, and the CPU would jump up to 70% when you try changing scenes, and you could see that on the live stream, and now it's no longer a problem. Everything looks perfectly smooth.
It was booting us out of lifetime too, right?
Oh yeah. It was the CPU utilization was so high that we would just get these random crashes on lifetime. We would just get an error message, and the lifetime would just go down. And that would, that cost us probably 5 minutes or so. Bring it back up, wait for it to, connect, make sure the timing system's working again. And now, we rarely have those problems with lifetime. So having the graphics card was, it was a gamble. We weren't sure if it was really going to work because everything you see online says to use CPU to do the encoding, and that using the NV encoder, which is NVENC, is just an inferior way of doing it. But whatever changes they've made in the last year have been, that suit our needs. They may not be good enough for people that are streaming games, but it works perfect for our solution here.
Take it away, man.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. Hopefully, this has been enjoyable. Maybe inspired you to do something similar. Step up your game. Build something that makes your life easier on a daily basis when it comes to races. Because there's never enough time when you're getting started. I get flustered when people come up and ask me questions before I've got everything set up. So anything that saves you time on race day is going to be helpful for the pilots. The quicker you can get through the day, the happier everybody is.
Huge thanks to you, Tim, for all the work you've put into this too. I mean, this is all volunteer hours and in a lot of cases volunteer cash that goes into making some of this stuff happen. But
we've all put in quite a bit of money buying bits and pieces here and there.
But it's fun and it's rewarding, and it's a time to hang out with good friends and do something that's really fun and inspiring. And I hope you guys can take some of this stuff and make some magic of your own.
Yeah, if you see this box anywhere and you've got stickers, please come up and add to the collection here.
We got space.
Yeah, especially over here.
All right, thanks. Have a good one.